So, ladies and gentlemen, today on this special Canada Day Sports File contest podcast, we're going to look at another great playoff period for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, this is the third in an ongoing series looking at the Habs' top 20-minute periods of the postseason. And we're going to talk about the classic third period of Game 7 of the semifinals in 1979 against the Boston Bruins. Now, Montreal entered this game on the ropes. Dryden had a very terrible playoff that year. After Montreal won the first two games of the series, Boston tied it up in Boston, came back to Montreal, and Montreal couldn't finish them off in Game 6. And a lot of people felt that Boston had a real chance to finally knock off Montreal after numerous playoff defeats at the hands of the glorious ones. Now, I spoke to Rick Milton years later at a alumni game in Woodstock in 2010 about this Game 7, and he played a large factor in this contest. Now, the game eventually, well, a lot of people already know, Yvon Lambert scored for Montreal in overtime on feed for Mario Tremblay to give Montreal the series and eventually Stanley Cup as Montreal went on to beat the Rangers. But Middleton told me basically they had every reason to believe they're going to win this game, and I tend to agree. Middleton scored the first goal of the game for the Bruins at the 10-minute mark of the first period on a feed from Dick Redmond and Wayne Cashman. And Wayne Cashman played one of his best games for the Bruins against Montreal in this contest. We're going to get into a little reason why very soon. Jacques Lemaire scored 4 minutes later to tie the contest, where we knew the way that Montreal was playing and when the way that Dryden was being so inconsistent on second rebounds and certain plays. The second period belonged to Wayne Cashman all the way. Middleton fed him at 27 seconds for them to go up at 2-1, with also another assist from Jean Rattel. And Rattel and Middleton fed Cashman again at the 16-12 mark and put Boston, seemed to be ahead for good. Now, for the first 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of the third period, Montreal was struggling to get back in the game. Dryden was basically inconsistent. He seemed to be struggling in the net. A fourth goal was going to really put Montreal away, but that didn't happen. Mark Napier, who had been a pickup from the Birmingham Bulls in the recent years, probably scored one of the biggest goals of his early career on a feed from Lafleur and Tremblay at 6:10. And then that stalwart of the defense, Lapointe, eventually tied up the game at 8:16 on a power play with another feed from Guy Lafleur. And Guy Lafleur told me again in 2010, another alumni game in Woodstock for the Montreal Canadiens, he said when they scored, he figured they were going to score that fourth goal, but it didn't play out that way. Middleton scored again, 16:01 at a crease speed, and Dryden basically lost his cool. He screamed, and you could tell this could have been the winning goal. With 4 minutes left, the Boston announcers basically said if Boston can stay at the penalty trouble, they're probably going to win the game. And of course, this is what happened. Too many men on the ice penalty. People said it was Don Marcotte. Rick Middleton didn't say it was not him. He said, "Read my book." I basically believe it was a combination of factors. We were trying to keep up with Lafleur line getting on the ice. Don Cherry made a mistake, and by my count, there was many as 7 Bruins on the ice, including the goaltender, And of course, you know what happened. Lafleur got the puck in the Montreal zone with less than 80 seconds to play. The slight spinorama fed to Lemaire. Lemaire fed back, and one of the biggest goals in NHL playoff history was scored past Joe Gilbert on a very low, kind of a combination slap shot and snapshot. Now, why this ranks as one of the greatest Montreal Canadiens periods of all time is that basically there was no way in the world that Montreal should have won this game. But the goals of the form, which we talked about in the previous podcast with the 84 win against Bouchard in the Nordiques, the goals of the form were real. For Boston to lead 3-1 entering the third period with the offense they had, with good defense, eventually lose 5-4 in overtime. And Middleton, who had one of the best games in his career, and again, he was had his puck stolen from Sir Savard, and he was rushing up the ice for probably the game-winning goal in overtime. And when Savard stole the puck, he had the hole, which passed a Trombley to Lambert. It looked like it was kicked in, but it wasn't. It was like the redirection of a pass over. Anybody that watched the game live, especially the call by Danny Galvin, will never ever forget this game. Montreal deserved to win this game. No, they won it because the goals to the form, Howie Morenz and Maurice Richard, Beliveau, Henri Richard, the goals living and dead, rose up the Montreal Canadiens in this contest, and the fans went completely friggin' nuts. I never heard the forum so loud at any time in their history, other than the Game 4 against Quebec in '86 in the quarterfinals. But again, see the great period that Game Middleton had and Bertel and Cashman. And Gilbert made some big saves. Gilbert was still a quality goalie at the time. But to see the weakness of Dryden gave up 4 goals. He would never give up 4 goals in a playoff game, and still couldn't lose. But Montreal really, really drove the offense in this game. Gilbert stopped 47 to 52 shots, and the Bruins had to kill off a lot of big penalties in the game. But like I said, it wasn't meant to be. Now, Ricky Milton still remains one of my favorite players. I have a signed photo of him to my dad from 2010. But all I can say, if I wanted any player to win a Stanley Cup, it'd be Rick Milton. And he went on to success with Team Canada later on. But Milton was always a money player. When he came over from the Rangers, he was always strong in the playoffs. It's too bad Edmonton or Calgary wouldn't have picked up Middleton in a trade and used him for the Western Conference playoff run, because it easily would have been the John Tonelli of Calgary or Edmonton. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. So this is the third in the series. The next one coming up will be a surprise. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's going to be not related to a Stanley Cup, but related to a big comeback. So on this Canada Day, we wish best wishes to all the Canadians here in Canada and across the world. It's been rough over the last few months, but don't forget, 2020 marks the 25th anniversary of the negative separation vote in Quebec, and really our country was reborn 25 years ago. Despite COVID, there's been a lot of stress, but our country almost died 25 years ago, and we're still around. And you can't keep a good Canadian down, or as we say, go Canada, go, or go Habs, go. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.